Hello and welcome to Black Bear Atheist. Today we're gonna hear Frank answer questions, which is really not gonna be answered. I don't know even why I said that. Frank doesn't answer questions. He just dance around and then at the end says, "Do you understand what I mean?" And the person is forced to say yes, simply because of the social norm. Anyways, today we're gonna have Frank answer atheist three objections to Christianity. Hope we can get something out of this. Some fun, some joy. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. What's your name?
Hello, my name is Carter,
Hey, Carter.
and I'd very much like to begin by addressing your offensive moral law argument that without God as an objective moral standard, we atheists, those who do not have the influence of theism, would be Hitleresque amoral beings.
Okay, let me stop right there because that's not the case. I never said that atheists can't be moral. I never said atheists don't know morality. In fact, atheists know morality just like everybody else. We know morality because it's written on our hearts. What I'm saying is that atheists can't judge.
I'm gonna stop you right there. We don't know morality because it's in our heart. We make our morality. You don't wanna get slapped. I don't wanna get slapped. Let's make a rule not for people to assault each other and slap each other whenever they want to just slap people. And we did.
Justify morality. That's the point. In fact, I had to say this several times to Christopher Hitchens. Christopher, I'm not saying you're a bad guy. Christopher, I'm not saying you don't know morality. In fact, I like Christopher. I thought he was a good guy. What I'm saying is you can't justify why not murder innocent people.
Oh yeah, you failed in that debate miserably. I did a video on that. Check it out. It was a clip that he posted on his channel. So I thought it was gonna be when he roast Christopher. But apparently he just, even without Christopher Hitchens talking, he failed miserably. Like, this man cannot debate. He needs to stick to doing his PowerPoints because that's all he can do. And he fails at that too. Jeez, man.
People to get what you want. That's the point. It's a point about ontology, not a point about epistemology. It's not a point about how you know the moral law. It's a point about why does the moral law exist.
Which you can prove to biology. The idea of the survival of the fittest. If humans start killing each other, will we survive, Frank? The answer is clearly no. We will not. So we understand that we need to build a community to help each other. I think I've heard this before. If you put one human in like a jungle, they will most likely actually not survive. That is because alone we humans are not that strong. But if you put 100 humans in a jungle, we will actually most likely survive a long time. We may even build a community. That is what we do. We understand that we have to stick together to survive.
I may return to address this, or the gentleman behind me may address it, but I'd really like to address your design argument.
Okay?
As I understood that you've argued that a painting or a creation, to use the term painting, implies a painter, or a design implies a designer. But I must ask, who designed God? And if no one designed God, if God is timeless, spaceless, and immaterial, and he existed eternally in an uncaused fashion, then why can't nature exist in the exact same way, in an eternal, uncaused, spaceless, timeless, immaterial fashion? Why?
That is the question. Now let's see if there's any answer.
Can't our uncaused origins be as marvelous and precise as God, but be natural causes?
Excellent question, Carter. That's a very good question. You're right that we have two options here. Either the universe is the uncaused first cause, or something beyond the universe is the
We have two options. Says who?
uncaused first cause. The problem is that all the evidence points to the fact that the universe is not the uncaused first cause. And I didn't have time to go through that evidence tonight. That was part one. But I'll give it to you very briefly in an acronym, SURGE, S-U-R-G-E. S stands for the second law of thermodynamics, which says that the universe is running down. Well, if it's running down, somebody must have wound it up. We'd have no energy left
Somebody must have wandered up. No, that's not how that works, Frank. Somebody didn't have to do it. Because we don't know what actually was before the Big Bang. We don't know if it was a woo. We don't know if it was nothing. We don't know if it was anything. So there's no evidence for what you're claiming, Frank. This is all just assertions with no evidence.
Right now, if the universe was eternal. The U stands for the fact that the universe is expanding. Edwin Hubble detected that back in 1929 and shows that everything came from a single point. A point actually of infinite density, the singularity, which is actually nothing. So the universe had a beginning. The R in surge stands for the radiation afterglow. That's the remnant heat discovered by Penzias and Wilson in 1965, which is literally the smoking gun to the Big Bang. There's heat, remnant heat from the Big Bang still out there, which shows that the universe had a beginning. The G in surge stands for the great galaxy seeds, which were very fine temperature variations in that radiation afterglow that allowed the galaxies to form in the early universe. And the E stands for Einstein's theory of general relativity, which shows that time, space, and matter are correlative, that they came into existence together, that space, time, and matter literally had a beginning. Einstein knew this in 1916. Then observational evidence began in 1919 when Eddington did his test on the eclipse. And then Hubble discovered.
This is just rant to make him look like he's smart. It doesn't make any sense. Oh, I'm not saying what he's saying is not true. I'm saying what he's gonna conclude after everything that he says is not true. It's like someone seeing a laptop, describing everything a laptop can do, and then go from, oh yeah, it was made by God, or it was made by aliens. No, humans made it. Like, make some sense, Frank.
Discovered the expanding universe in 1929, and then on to the radiation afterglow and the great galaxy seeds after that. So the evidence points to the fact that the universe is not the uncaused first cause. So there must be something beyond the universe that is, and that thing that's beyond the universe must be spaceless, timeless, and immaterial. And if you're timeless, do you have a beginning?
Okay, I don't think you understand the question. We're not saying God isn't timeless, God isn't immaterial. We're giving you that. Does God have a causer? Just because God is timeless doesn't mean someone can come along the way and be also timeless, immaterial, time, or material, or something more. It may sound like it doesn't make sense, but think about it. If you're saying someone created this, and someone created this, and then you stop at one point and say, oh, well, nobody created this. That makes no sense. You have to keep going back. It's an infinite regress. Which is what we get when you put God at the point of singularity. It doesn't make sense, Frank.
No. So God is not, he didn't have a beginning. He's the uncaused first cause. And look, Aristotle, Plato, they all knew this. They knew there had to be an unmoved mover.
I believe that you're drawing a false dichotomy, because we do not know that the original cause was God. There is no reason to say that an intelligent designer was the first cause, the uncaused first cause that caused everything else. I do not have the training or expertise to refute such science, and in fact I accept your conclusion that the Big Bang had a beginning and space-time and matter came into existence from a point of origin. But we do not know that this point of origin is God. Calling it God is to make a false assumption. Another reason for the existence of everything might simply be that other dimensions had the power and the marvelousness and complexity to create a situation where where the Big Bang could be brought into existence and space-time and matter could begin to exist without an intelligent designer having a hand.
Well, Carter, what you just described there is what we would call God. God is in another dimension that has the ability to bring these dimensions into existence. So if you want to call it another dimension, you can call it that, but that's exactly what we mean by God.
Again, who created God? God can't just be the first cause and nobody calls him. You gotta explain how that is, or why that is. And you can't just say it's spaceless, timeless, and immaterial, that's why. No, actually, you have to explain why the fact that it's spaceless and timeless doesn't mean that someone actually calls him. Time as we know it, we understand it to an extent. But how do we know someone wasn't the first cause? Another person wasn't the one that caused God. It's infinite regress. If you say the universe is too complex for it to just, big and bang and then become like the galaxies and the universe forming, then you have to understand that you put in a more complex person, a more complex entity over that. You're putting something more complex over the universe, which is what you're doing, putting God there. If you put God there, then we have to put something more complex over God. We can't just stop there. It's infinite regress.
But then why is there a theology? Why do we worship God? He could easily be called another.
Excellent point. You don't have to worship God. In fact, Aristotle never worshiped God. In fact, the Greeks never got their theology and philosophy together. They knew that there had to be an unmoved mover, but they never put the two together and worshiped the unmoved mover. So you don't have to worship the unmoved mover. You don't have to. You can do whatever you want.
Oh yeah, you just go to hell, brother. Hell awaits.
That's why you have free will. God loves you enough to give you free will. You can love him or reject him. That's up to you.
But on that point, we do have the free will to accept or reject God, but the obvious conclusion is that rejection of God will lead to eternal damnation.
Free will is an illusion. We don't have free will, with God or without God. And let me be clear. In the Bible, there was no free will. There was only one will that was technically free, and it was God's.
In hell. So in reality, we do not really have the choice to accept or not to accept God. We must ultimately accept God, assuming we choose to avoid perdition.
Well, if you want to avoid, well, let me back up for a second. There's only two possibilities if God exists. In eternity, you're going to be with him or you're not going to be with him, right? That's logically the only two options. If you want to be with him, you will seek him out and be with him. If you don't want to be with him, God will not force you into his presence against your will. In fact, let me make the objection stronger than what you're making it. You're very polite, but I debated an atheist who was a little bit more direct. And let me tell you, this man he's a good man. I like him. His name is Eddie Tabash. He's an attorney from Beverly Hills. We debated at University of Michigan a number of months ago. And he looked at me during the Q&A and he said, Frank, my mother was a survivor of the Holocaust. She lived an awful life. Somebody presented her with the gospel and she rejected it. Is she in hell right now? Whoa. I said, Eddie, I don't know where your mother is. I don't know if she made a profession of faith in her last.
Yes, she is. Sorry to inform you, lawyer or whatever you are. Your mother is in hell, and you're also going since you're an atheist.
Moments, but if she didn't, then God will not force her into his presence against her will. God is too loving for that. And I asked the audience.
Also, this bozo is trying to make hell look like something that's just, outside of God's presence, which is not possible because God is everywhere. He's all-knowing and all-powerful, so he has to be everywhere. It's omnipotent and omniscient. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So you can't necessarily say hell is a place outside of God's presence because that's not even possible. Hell is a place of punishment. And the Bible clearly depicts this. So they're trying to sugarcoat it. They're trying to make it seem like hell. Okay, some of them at least. Apologetics are good with this shit. They're trying to make it seem like hell is a place where it's not necessarily punishment, but it's just pushing you away from God, which makes no sense. Because why would God create you when he knows you're gonna end up there in hell, just a waste? Just doesn't make any sense. But according to the Bible, there's actually more evidence of hell being punishment than anything else. So hell is a punishment. So why would God create a woman to go through Holocaust? Let's even back him up. Why would God create a woman that is a Jew that's actually following the old laws? Why would he create her to go to hell and go through the trauma that she went through the Holocaust to begin with? Isn't that just insane? This is the kind of God that you worship. This is the where you get your morals from. It's insane, Frank. It's insane what you're even saying.
this question. In fact, I'll ask you as an audience this question. Ladies, is there anybody in here who's ever had a man pursue you and you did not want that man to pursue you? You did not want to date him. Anyone in here? Of course. In fact, some of you are going, yeah, he's sitting right next to me right now. He won't.
Frank, that is not the same thing. That is not the same thing. This woman did not create the man, designed the man. Okay? Designed the man to be chasing after them or to not chase after them. Did not design the world that they're in. Did not design everything. It's not the same thing. It's such a terrible analogy drawer or whatever you can call it, even that. It's just terrible. Like, it's not a good analogy.
Leave me alone. I said, okay, ladies, suppose this man continues to pursue you and continues to pursue you. And you say, look, I only like you as a friend. Ladies, why don't you just take the knife, stick it in, and turn it? Because every man in here has heard this. I like you, but only as a friend. Well, suppose he continues to pursue you, and he gets to the point where he says, look, I love you so much, I'm going to force you to love me. Can he do that? No, he can't do that. Love, by definition, must be freely given. So if he truly did love you, what would he do? He would leave you alone. That's exactly what God does. He keeps sending us cards, letters, and flowers while we're here.
Well, I don't know what card and letters you're getting, but I'm not getting any. Do I need to change my address or something? Is my mailbox not working? I have an email address. You could send me to that. Make some sense, Frank. God is not sending any letter. God is not sending anything. We can't even communicate with this guy. And you're claiming that he's the first cause and he has no causer. That's a claim that you have to support. And you're not doing any of that.
And if we keep rejecting him, he gives us up to our own desires. And that ultimately what hell is. Hell is separation from God. So
I did not answer any of the questions.
You're free in hell. You can continue to reject God in hell, but you're confined to hell. In fact, hell is a quarantine of evil. That's what it is.
A quarantine of evil because you reject God. Because you reject God, you're ultimately evil. Again, punishment. Hell is punishment. Like, stop trying to sugarcoat it. Hell is either a place of fire, a place of darkness. Either ways, it's a place of punishment for the people that don't believe in God because of their circumstances, because they actually came to a conclusion that there's probably no God, because they believe in another religion, because they didn't believe in the same religion but in a different sector. Like, there's so many things that could send you to hell, and it doesn't make any sense. And Frank fails of giving any explanation to the question. He fails at answering why God doesn't need a causer. He fails to answer the question about hell, which is very an interesting question. Not even interesting. It's a clear answer that you can get from the Bible. There is no free will in the Bible. And God, even in the Bible, it says, by grace you're saved. And who's giving the grace? God. And even there in the Bible, it says, many all going to hell. So, because few are going to be the ones to go to heaven. So, it made so many people, 8 billion people right now in the world, 2 billion are Christian. If you cut down the other sections of Christianity, you're probably going to get to like few millions of people, maybe less, that are going to actual heaven. And he made all these people just to end up in hell. What the hell is the point? What the heck is the point? It doesn't make sense, Frank. Your God doesn't make sense. You don't make sense. None of this make any sense.
And heaven, of course, is being in the very presence of God. God loves you too much to force you into his presence against your will.
So he put you in a place to punish you. Let's follow along with your terrible ass analogy of someone chasing after a girl and, forcing her to love them. So let's do this. So you're chasing after the girl, and you're forcing them to love you, and you give them two options. By the way, the girl was freely living their life. You give them two options. You could either love me freely. You're not forcing them. You're not forcing them. You're just telling them there's options, very clear options. You could either love me, or I could kill you. You see, freely giving the love, right? Sharing the love. You could either love me, or I could end your life. You see how that make no sense? You see how that make no sense? The love, it wasn't a free given love. We're given two options according to your beliefs, hell or heaven. One is to be with God, and the other is to get punished for eternity. That's all you get. That's free to choose. There's only one option really, which is heaven, and that's not even a good option, because why would you want to be in heaven worshiping God for eternity? None of this makes sense, Frank, and you're not making any damn sense.
Thanks, Carter.
Look how disappointed the guy is. Let's back that. Like, he knew from the beginning that he was never going to answer any of his questions. But he still tried. He tried his best. And Frank just went on a rampage. Well, I have this person that was debating. And he gave me a story about his mother or grandmother. About she survived the Holocaust and died. But she never believed in Jesus. Is she going to go to hell? Well, I couldn't really answer his question. So I said, well, hell is a separate place from God. Not that it's a place with fire and punishment. It's a separate place from God. Like, shut up, Frank. And answer people's question. The next video I think we're going to watch is Cody. Which is one of my favorite videos of Frank Turek. And like, Cody really put his ass to a torch. And really tried to get his questions answered. They were still not answered. But that man went down as a legend. One of the very few students to actually try to have Frank answer the question. That's it for today. Catch you in the next one. Have a great day.